So, what happens when, groundbreaking scientific thought crashes head-on with what everyone just believes?
Well, sparks tend to fly, right? Often conflict.
Yeah, when the very, foundations of how people see the universe get shaken up by a new way of seeing things, a
Yeah.
totally new explanation for, well, everything.
Exactly.
Today, we're plunging right into that kind of collision. Our mission in this deep dive to explore the fascinating, often really turbulent life and the truly revolutionary ideas of Anaxagoras.
Ah, Anaxagoras.
A figure from ancient Greece who basically dared to challenge the whole fabric of understanding in his time. And let's just say he paid a pretty steep price for it.
He certainly did.
We've got a stack of material here that honestly plunges us right into the vibrant, sometimes volatile world of ancient Greek philosophy. It paints this vivid picture of a thinker who maybe isn't a household name like Pythagoras or Heraclitus today,
Right, not quite as famous, maybe?
but holds immense, foundational historical importance. So what makes him so crucial? Why is he so indispensable to understanding, intellectual history?
Well, there's a lot, but one huge thing.
Yeah.
He's credited with introducing one of the most transformative concepts ever. The idea of mind, or nous,
Yes. Right.
as a primary organizing cause in the universe. An active, intelligent force sort of behind the cosmos's order.
So it's not just about what things are made of.
Exactly. It's about how they became what they are and why they operate with such regularity. It was a monumental shift in how people were thinking.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, his position is really unique. Anaxagoras stands at this kind of fascinating crossroads. He was an Ionian rationalist.
Meaning from Ionia, right? That area known for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A tradition of thinkers there who favored reason, observation, over myth and superstition. And he was undeniably a scientist. That's a key distinction from a lot of his peers.
A scientist. Okay.
Yeah. Unlike some who lean towards more mystical or abstract explanations for everything, Anaxagoras approached the world with a scientific, empirical lens.
Mm.
And as we'll get into, it was precisely this rigorous scientific rationalism that led to both some incredibly profound insights and, maybe inevitably in that Athenian climate, some very serious accusations.
And trust me, as we dug into this, I kept thinking, wow, he seemed to anticipate stuff from centuries later. There's some really profound insights and definite aha moments waiting for you here. And that dramatic clash between his, intellectual pursuits and the rigid Athenian society of his time, it's something that still resonates today, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It raises questions about the cost of challenging norms.
Makes you wonder about the price of thinking differently. Okay, let's unpack this fascinating life and the ideas that quite literally got him into hot water. The man behind the mind, Anaxagoras' life and turbulent times. Right, let's start with his origins. Context is everything here. He was born around 500 BC in Clazomenae.
Clazomenae, yeah. A bustling city in Ionia. That's modern-day Western Turkey, basically.
And Ionia wasn't just, any region back then. It was really the intellectual cradle, wasn't it, for rationalist scientific thought?
Oh, absolutely. This was the place where thinkers like Thales, Anaximander, Anaximenes, they'd already started moving beyond purely mythical explanations for, how the world worked.
They were actually looking around, observing.
Yeah, observing, reasoning about underlying principles, proposing systematic, often materialist explanations for things like earthquakes, weather, the composition of the universe.
So not just blaming Zeus for thunder anymore.
Exactly. So being born and raised in that environment, it naturally set Anaxagoras up with this intellectual disposition, focused on observation, logical inquiry, and, a deep skepticism toward the traditional gods as explanations for nature.
That makes sense. That was the mindset that shaped him.
Definitely. And then his journey from Ionia to Athens. That happened roughly between 462 and 432 BC.
So a long time, like 30 years or so.
Yeah, a really significant period of his life. But it was more than just him moving house. His arrival in Athens marked a truly crucial historical moment for the city itself.
How so?
Well, up until then, Athens was culturally rich, sure, but it wasn't the main hub for the kind of rigorous cosmological philosophy that was booming in Ionia.
Right, they were more into rhetoric, politics, drama.
Exactly. Anaxagoras showing up meant the very first introduction of that Ionian philosophy into what was becoming the intellectual center of Athens.
Wow, so he brought that scientific way of thinking with him.
He did. It wasn't just transplanting ideas. It was infusing this new rationalistic, materialist approach into a society that was, used to other ways of thinking. It set the stage for a huge intellectual shift.
And this is where it gets really juicy. his connection to Pericles.
Ah, yes. The big man himself.
One of the most powerful figures in Athenian history. The sources say Pericles fell in with Anaxagoras, and this wasn't just like a casual chat.
No, not at all. Pericles was this guy with immense intellect, political ambition, a vision for Athens.
Mm.
He saw Anaxagoras as a scientific man.
Someone who could, what was the phrase? Satiate him with the theory of things on high.
Exactly. Pericles, the leader of Athens' golden age, was drawn to Anaxagoras' ability to explain the cosmos, the nature of existence, through reason and observation, not myth.
Imagine that. The guy overseeing the Parthenon build, sitting down, talking about the universe with this radical philosopher.
It shows a new kind of intellectual curiosity at the very top levels of Athenian society. This patronage was a big deal.
And the influence went deep.
Oh, yeah. The sources say his discourses on the true nature of intellect and folly directly influenced Pericles' whole inner circle.
Not just Pericles.
No, figures like Aspasia.
Ah, Aspasia from Miletus, known for being incredibly smart.
Exactly, another Ionian connection there. And also the tragedian Euripides. His plays often tackled complex philosophical ideas, sometimes with a more rationalist slant.
So Anaxagoras wasn't just some lone thinker. He was like a catalyst.
Definitely. A catalyst for a broader cultural and intellectual movement, promoting a higher level of culture among the city's elite. He was shaping the intellectual fabric of the Golden Age.
Not everyone was thrilled about this, right? This new Ionian rationalism.
Not at all. Stirred up significant tensions, not just in Athens, maybe even elsewhere. The citizens, especially those rooted in traditional values, traditional religion.
They weren't keen on having their beliefs challenged.
Exactly. They showed distinct hostility towards intellectuals, bringing in these higher levels of culture, which often, question the gods' roles or traditional explanations.
So, fertile ground for conflict, a kind of conservative backlash.
Precisely. Particularly aimed at Pericles and, by extension, his associates, like Anaxagoras. It's that timeless dynamic, isn't it? New ideas meet resistance.
Yes, sounds familiar.
And that backlash became very real, very concrete in the politics that led to Anaxagoras' prosecution.
So it was political maneuvering, too.
Absolutely. Opponents of Pericles, wanting to undermine him, launched this campaign against his friends. We see other examples, like Phaedrus.
The sculptor of the Parthenon statues.
Yeah, he was accused of embezzling gold. Aspasia was accused of impiety, too. Attacking Pericles directly was hard. He was popular, so they went after his friends.
And Anaxagoras was a prime target, representing everything they disliked.
Exactly. A convenient, symbolic target in this larger political game to weaken Pericles. His trial wasn't just about philosophy, it was politics.
And the charges themselves, pretty serious stuff.
Oh, incredibly serious. He was formally prosecuted for not practicing religion, basically, atheism or impiety, and for teaching things on high.
Things on high, meaning astronomy, cosmology.
Yes, things concerning the heavens, the cosmos. In Athens, these weren't minor issues. Impiety could threaten the whole city's relationship with the gods. It wasn't a slap on the wrist, it could be a death sentence.
Wow.
And what's crucial, the core of the impiety charge was directly tied to his science.
Okay, like what specifically?
The prosecution jumped on his astronomy, citing his teaching that the sun was a red-hot stone and the moon was Earth.
That sounds almost basic science to us now.
Right, but back then, when celestial bodies were often seen as gods, saying the sun is just a hot rock, that was a capital crime, profound impiety, denying the divine nature of the cosmos.
The red-hot stone.
And what's really chilling, the sources explicitly say this, was the same accusation repeated by the prosecutors of Socrates later on.
The same accusation. Wow, so there was a pattern.
A definite pattern, targeting intellectuals whose rational explanations challenged traditional beliefs, seeing them as dangerous threats, a deep tension between science and orthodoxy.
So what actually happened to him? Did Pericles save him? Did he escape?
Well, that's where it gets a bit murky. The sources leave us with some ambiguity, which is kind of dramatic in itself.
So we don't know for sure.
It's uncertain. Maybe Pericles helped him get out of Athens. Maybe he went back to Ionia, started a school there. Or maybe he was jailed and managed to escape, perhaps with Pericles' quiet help.
Either way, it highlights the danger, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The danger intellectual freedom faced in Athens. Pursuing knowledge, especially challenging knowledge, could literally put your life on the line. A stark reminder of that tension between inquiry and orthodoxy. The revolutionary concept of nous, mind, and the nature of matter.
Okay, so let's shift from his rather dramatic life to his ideas, his philosophy. He had this really radical view on matter.
Oh, completely radical. He proposed that everything is infinitely divisible.
Infinitely divisible, so you could just keep cutting something smaller and smaller forever.
That was the idea. And no matter how tiny that speck became, it would still contain a trace of everything else in the universe.
Huh.
A bit of earth, fire, air, flesh, bone, gold, everything.
Like a cosmic smoothie, where every drop has everything in it.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It meant even the smallest bit of matter wasn't pure. It contained some portion of everything, a universal mix at every scale.
That's mind-bending.
It really is. And to explain why things look like just one thing, he said, things appear to be that of which they contain most.
Okay, so wood looks like wood, because it's mostly wood, but there's still tiny bits of other stuff in there.
Exactly. Imperceptible bits of fire, earth, whatever.
Yeah.
He used some neat examples. The clepsydra.
The water clock thing?
Yeah. Try filling it underwater without letting the air out first. The water won't go in. Proves that empty space is full of air.
Ah, right. You can't see the air, but it's definitely there.
Or an inflated animal skin. Press on it, feel the resistance. Air is there, even though it's invisible.
Huh.
His point was, elements exist everywhere, in everything, even if unseen. What something appears to be is just its dominant component.
That's a subtle but really deep way of thinking about matter.
It was, but then came his biggest leap.
Ness, mind.
Exactly. While earlier thinkers focused on substances, water, air, fire, Anaxagoras introduced nous. And for him, mind wasn't just another ingredient.
Oh, it's different.
Fundamentally different. A unique substance altogether. He believed this mind entered into the composition of living things. And crucially, nous was what differentiated living beings from dead matter.
So mind is like the spark of life, the animating force.
Precisely. The principle that imbued life, initiated motion, and implicitly brought order. It shifted the whole conversation from just what things are to how they're organized and why they act.
Okay, so what was this mind like? What were its characteristics?
He described it as utterly distinct, pure. It was infinite, without limit, self-ruled, completely autonomous, acting on its own.
Not pushed around by other stuff.
Right. And maybe most importantly, mixed with nothing. Unlike everything else, which contained bits of all opposites, hot, cold, white, black mind was pure, unadulterated.
Which allowed it
To exert its influence without being constrained. And it had
Yeah.
power over all things that have life, the organizing principle.
And he thought this mind was the same everywhere, like in animals and humans.
Remarkably, yes.
Yeah.
He believed mind was uniform. The mind in animals was fundamentally the same as the mind in humans, a continuity across life forms.
Wow. That's radical. No special human soul stuff.
Not in the way others thought,
Mm-hmm.
which leads to an obvious question.
Yeah, if mind is uniform, why do humans seem so much smarter than, say, a sheep, if the basic mind is the same?
Excellent question. And his answer is fascinatingly materialist, almost modern.
Right.
He argued that man's apparent superiority is due to the fact that he has hands.
Hands. Seriously, we're smarter because we have hands.
That was his argument. While others might point to a divine spark or a better soul, Anaxagoras grounded it in biology.
Mm-hmm.
He said all seeming differences of intelligence are really due to bodily differences.
So it's not the mind itself that's different, it's our bodies that let us use it better.
Exactly. Our ability to manipulate the environment, make tools, interact physically, that enables and shapes our cognitive expression. It's almost like early cognitive science, thinking about the mind-to-body connection in a very practical way.
We're smart because we can do things. That's kind of amazing for 500 BC.
Profoundly ahead of its time, challenging all sorts of assumptions about human uniqueness, cosmology, and astronomical insights. A scientific rebellion.
Okay, so we have this infinitely mixed matter and this pure animating mind, nous. How did mind actually shape the universe according to him, create the stars and planets?
Right, nous wasn't just about life. He saw it as the source of all motion in the entire cosmos, the prime mover.
The thing that kicked it all off.
Pretty much. He proposed mind's first act was to create a rotation, a cosmic swirl, a vortex that gradually spread throughout the world.
Like stirring a giant pot.
Sort of. And this rotation set everything in motion. It caused the lightest things to go to the circumference, pushed outwards, and the heaviest to fall towards the center, pulled inwards.
Ah, so that's how things got sorted out. Light stuff out, heavy stuff in.
That was his explanation for cosmic order, a remarkably mechanistic physical process for how the universe got its structure. A big move away from God's just putting things in place.
Almost like a proto-gravity idea initiated by mind.
You could see it that way. And what's really unique is how he positioned this. He explicitly rejected necessity and chance as the origin.
Meaning it wasn't random and it wasn't just fated to happen blindly. There was intelligence involved.
Correct. But, and this is key to why he got in trouble, he also had no providence in his cosmology.
No providence, meaning?
Meaning no benevolent deity actively intervening, guiding things towards a moral outcome, looking out for humanity. His mind starts the process, sets the mechanics, but doesn't seem to have an ongoing moral purpose or control in the way later religious thinkers would imagine.
So intelligent design, but without a personal, caring designer.
Kind of. It makes his system really unusual for ancient Greece. It's this deliberate intelligence without the comforting notion of divine care.
And that leads back to the accusations.
Directly. Rejecting that kind of direct, ongoing divine intervention. Saying things happen because of the physical mechanics mind set up, not because Zeus threw a thunderbolt.
That sounds like atheism to them.
Exactly. Even if he didn't explicitly deny all gods, taking him out of the day-to-day running of the cosmos. That was enough. It challenged the whole traditional Greek pantheon and their perceived role. A profound threat.
Okay. But he didn't just theorize about the big picture. He had specific astronomical insights too, right? Stuff he observed.
Oh, absolutely. And they were truly revolutionary. Get this. He was the first to explain that the moon shines by reflected light.
The first. Wow, everyone else thought it had its own light.
Pretty much. Or that it was a god or had some divine glow. To figure out it was just reflecting the sun, that's a huge leap in observational astronomy, treating it like a physical object.
Demystifying the heavens.
Totally. And he didn't stop there. He understood the correct theory of eclipses.
Which must have terrified most people back then, omens and stuff.
You bet. But he seems to have figured out the alignment of sun, moon, and earth. A rational, mechanistic explanation.
What else?
He knew the moon was Earth, like made of similar stuff to our planet, not some ethereal celestial body. He even suggested it had mountains.
No way. And the sun, the red-hot stone.
Yep. He proclaimed the sun and stars are fiery stones, but we do not feel the heat of the stars because they are too distant.
He even accounted for why we don't feel the heat from stars. That's incredible logic.
It is. Empirical observation plus deduction. He even estimated the sun's size larger than the Peloponnesus. That's a huge area of Greece.
These weren't just myths or guesses. These were scientific claims based on looking and thinking.
Exactly. A remarkably modern approach for his time, legacy, and enduring influence.
So, despite the trial, the controversy, the uncertainty about his end, his ideas clearly had legs, right? They couldn't just be ignored.
Far too significant. His influence ripples through ancient Greek thought, even when people disagreed with him.
Like who? Who engaged with his ideas later on?
Well, the big two, Aristotle and Plato, both engaged deeply with Anaxagoras, even if critically.
How so? What did Aristotle think?
Aristotle studied nous but found it a bit underdeveloped. He noted that Anaxagoras' mind causes motion but nothing else.
Meaning it starts the swirl but doesn't do much after that.
Kind of. For Aristotle, it didn't seem to organize things with specific purposes or goals, what he called telos. Aristotle's own prime mover was all about purpose. He felt Anaxagoras' nous set things up, but didn't guide them towards the best outcome.
Interesting critique. And Plato, or Platonic Socrates.
Yeah, Socrates in Plato's dialogues famously expressed disappointment. He found little use of it, especially for moral or ethical questions.
Socrates was all about virtue and how to live, right? Not so much about cosmology.
Exactly. Anaxagoras' material explanations, however brilliant scientifically, didn't directly help answer questions about justice or the good life in the way Socrates wanted.
So why these critiques? What does it tell us?
It shows a major shift happening in philosophy, right? From the pre-Socratic focus on what the world is made of, towards Socrates and Plato's focus on ethics, metaphysics, the why and how of human existence. It highlights that divergence.
Makes sense. And Anaxagoras wasn't operating in isolation, though. He built on others.
Oh, for sure. He stood on the shoulders of giants. You can see influences from Pythagoras, maybe the emphasis on order, Parmenides, the rigorous logic, Empedocles with his elements and forces, and Anaxagoras synthesized and transformed those earlier ideas.
And then he passed the torch on, too.
Crucially, yes. He certainly kept alive the rationalist and scientific tradition of the Ionians right there in Athens, just as ethical concerns were becoming dominant.
Because he didn't really focus on ethics or religion himself.
Right? His primary focus remained scientific inquiry, understanding the physical world. While Plato and others shifted the gaze inward, Anaxagoras kept that Ionian scientific spirit burning. It was a vital bridge, ensuring that empirical way of thinking wasn't lost.
Okay, but here's a weird one. The sources say he brought an obscurantist bias into Greek philosophy. That sounds wrong for a rationalist. Obscurantist, how?
Yeah, it's a provocative point. It doesn't mean he tried to be obscure. It's more about the effect his detailed, complex physical explanations might have had.
Like, too complicated for regular people, or just not what they were interested in.
Probably a bit of both. His focus on infinite divisibility, cosmic swirls, fiery stones, it might have seemed abstract, maybe even alienating, compared to the more immediate ethical or spiritual questions people had.
So, by being so rigorously scientific, he might have made philosophy seem less relevant or accessible to those seeking, say, moral guidance.
Possibly. It highlights that tension between pure scientific explanation and popular understanding or religious belief. What's crystal clear scientifically can seem obscure if it doesn't address people's immediate existential or moral concerns.
Interesting take. But maybe his biggest legacy, the one we sometimes forget,
Go on.
is his direct impact on the giants who came right after him. He was important as the first to bring philosophy to Athens. He literally set the stage.
Absolutely foundational. He opened the door for that intense philosophical life Athens became famous for.
And more than that, he was one of the influences that helped to form Socrates.
Think about that chain reaction. Anaxagoras influences Socrates. Socrates influences Plato. Plato influences Aristotle.
And the rest is history, basically. He's this vital, maybe underestimated link in that chain, the spark that really ignited Athenian philosophy proper.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Outro.
So, what a journey. Anaxagoras. The brilliant mind, the scientific trailblazer, the controversial figure who literally risked his life to explain the universe rationally.
And set the stage for the very people who'd later critique parts of his system, the irony.
Yeah. His story is just this powerful reminder, isn't it, about the risks of pushing boundaries, of challenging what everyone thinks they know.
And his contributions are undeniable. That concept of nests, the empirical astronomy, figuring out eclipses, the moon's light, and just bringing that whole Ionian scientific way of thinking to Athens.
Laying foundational stones, as you said, even if others built different things on top.
Exactly. They built in conversation with the ground he broke, even when they moved away from his purely material focus.
He dared to say the sun was a rock, not a god. That our intelligence is linked to our hands. It was brilliant insight meeting deep social discomfort.
A classic clash.
And you have to wonder, does that still echo today? What are the red-hot stones of our own time? What scientific ideas, what philosophical concepts challenge our comfortable beliefs, our modern orthodoxies?
It's a great question. How do we react to the Anaxagoras's of today? Those who dare to speak challenging truths.
Something to think about. That balance between curiosity and acceptance. We hope you keep asking those questions, keep exploring those things on high, because really that's how we deepen our understanding, isn't it, of the universe and our own place in it.